46 years ago, a 17-year-old girl named Amy Whitmore vanished into the thick fog in the coastal town of Coos Bay, Oregon. No one saw her leave, only her car was found by the riverbank, headlights still on. Police suspected a local man who had worked near the abandoned mine was involved, but no body, no evidence, and the investigation quickly hit a dead end. However, all those years, Amy's family never stopped believing that somewhere there was still a clue buried. Then one day, when a young female investigator reopened the old file, she discovered a small forgotten detail, a detail that could change the entire case and shock the entire Coos Bay community. Before diving deep into this shocking story, let us know where you're watching from, and if you like cases that seem to have been dormant for decades, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episodes. Coos Bay, Oregon, summer of 1979. The small coastal town, nestled between pine forests and the Pacific shore, the evening air thick with fog and the smell of damp wood. Yellow lights spilled from wooden houses, laughter echoed from the senior farewell party at North Bend High School. In the Kellogg family's small wooden house, Fleetwood Mac music played softly from the tape player, girls singing and taking Polaroid photos, the pictures clicking and printing out slowly like the breath 327 of time. Amy Whitmore, 17 years old, the girl with soft brown hair and gray-blue eyes, was standing leaning against the window, looking at the thick fog outside. She was the first to leave the party early, saying she wanted to get home before her parents worried. The yellow light from the living room illuminated her face as she put on her faded denim jacket, smiling at her best friend Marcia. "See you next week in Eugene," she said, her voice light like the sea breeze. Marcia waved, the last photo capturing the moment Amy stepped down the porch steps, keys in hand. Her yellow Chevy Nova started up, the low steady sound echoing in the night, then disappeared into the thick fog surrounding the McCullough Bridge. After the engine sound faded, the house sank back into silence. Fog condensed on the road like the heavy breath of the night sea. An owl called from the forest, then nothing but the distant waves. The next morning, as the sun rose over Coos Bay, Amy's bed was still smooth, the alarm clock showing 7 o'clock, not turned off. Her mother knocked on the door, called her name, then called Marcia. No one knew where Amy was, no one heard from her. By noon, when all calls were useless, her father left the house, drove along the roads leading to the highway, past the bridge, past the gas station she used to stop at. Not a trace. By afternoon, the Coos Bay sky turned lead gray, wind from the sea blowing stronger. The landline phone in the Whitmore house rang, the father's voice hoarse with worry. "I want to report a missing person." And that was the last moment the town knew the name Amy Whitmore as a girl, before she became a case. The next morning, the Coos Bay sky was covered in a damp ash color. The fog was still thick like a wet blanket over the whole town, blocking the sunlight. Sheriff Ray Hensley, the man in his 50s with hair gone gray early from the job, received the missing person call while still drinking his first cup of coffee of the day. A teenage girl vanished after a party. No clues, no one knew where she'd gone. In a small town like Coos Bay, that was like a cold wind suddenly blowing out all the laughter. Hensley ordered the mobilization of the entire county force, along with volunteer rescue teams and fishermen from the port. "No one goes home until we find the girl," he said, his voice gravelly in the wet cold morning. The whole team set out, while fog still wrapped around the hills. Flashlights swept in faint beams through the pine forest. Boots sank in mud. Police dogs barked hoarsely. The police loudspeaker echoed along Highway 101, repeating the name now familiar to the whole town. Amy Whitmore, 17 years old, brown hair, wearing a blue denim jacket, white pants. "If anyone sees her, please report to Coos County Sheriff's Office." The smell of sea salt mixed with machine oil from the docks, the wet and cold scene making everyone silent. Hensley drove the lead jeep, window glass fogged with mist. He'd been in many missing person searches, but he still had a bad feeling in his gut. "This girl didn't run away," he muttered, almost to himself. From noon, they split into small teams. Two scent dogs led west, along the Coos River bank. Every time the animals stopped, the handler bent down, shone the light, noted, but only bird tracks, rotten leaves, and old tire marks. By late afternoon, as the fog thinned, Lieutenant Carl Jensen, the youngest on the team, was walking along the reed bed near the drainage area, suddenly bent down. Under the wet mud mixed with algae were parallel grooves, deeply imprinted like someone had braked hard. "Hensley," he called out. The sheriff walked over, squinted. Two fresh tire tracks, clearly from small passenger car tires, one side deeper than the other like the car was off balance. They followed the mud tracks winding about more than 20 meters, then stopped at a low spot by the river edge. There, grass was flattened, soft soil, still a faint smell of gasoline. Jensen shone the flashlight down. Something reflected sparkling under the muddy water, a small piece of metal like from a car door trim. Hensley signaled stop. He bent down, used gloved hand to scrape mud, revealing fresh scratches gleaming silver. "Stop, seal this area," he said shortly. Voice low and firm. The tech team was called. They staked markers, spread tarps around the area. Everyone stood silent, looking at the Coos River water turning leaden. The current swirled slowly, drifting lazily past the broken grass as if holding its own secret. Hensley stood straight, holding the cleaned metal piece. The dim afternoon light reflected on the scratched surface. He said quietly enough for Jensen to hear, "Someone stopped here, and the girl didn't go any further." Across the river, a ship horn echoed from the port, like a cold reminder that night was coming, and time was not on their side. The search shifted to emergency mode, lasting through the night, while that sparkling metal piece lay quiet in the first evidence bag of the case named Amy Whitmore. The third morning of the search began with rain. The water drops fell lightly, collecting in layers on patrol car windows and pine needles. The search team was tired, but no one said it. They'd covered more than 10 miles along the Coos River bank, only seeing human footprints and old tire tracks. Sheriff Ray Hensley stood by the Jeep cabin, looking at the map spread on the hood, voice hoarse. If the car was really pulled into the river, it must be in this bend. He pointed to a dense reed area, where mud was knee-deep, less than half a mile from the tire track discovery culvert yesterday. Two young officers, Carl Jensen and Luke Harris, rolled up pants, led each other along the riverbank. Water sloshed. Smell of mud and algae hit thick. A gray heron suddenly flew up from the tall grass, startling Jensen. He swept the flashlight down, and the light reflected back from something deep in the bushes. A faint yellow glow flashed under the wet mud, then gone. Jensen frowned, approached, used stick to part grass. What appeared before him was a curved metal panel, dull yellow under the fog. "Ray, I found it," he shouted, voice mixed in the rain. Hensley and a few other officers ran over. They stood silent for a few seconds. No one spoke. Part of the car body clearer under the flashlight, stuck with mud and algae, Oregon plate still intact, 4M627. The yellow Chevy Nova, found 2 days after Amy vanished. Hensley put on raincoat, ordered, "Don't touch anything. Preserve the scene." They staked boundaries, strung reflective tape, called forensics team. While waiting, Jensen approached, bent to look through the foggy window. The car's headlights were still on faintly, glowing dim like dying eyes. Radio in the car still working, softly playing the familiar tune of Dreams, Fleetwood Mac, sound out of place in the falling rain. Driver's door ajar, leather seat wet, keys still in ignition. On the back seat, the denim jacket and cream purse. Everything almost intact, except the absolute absence of Amy. No signs of struggle, no blood, nothing indicating anything happened, just silence. A silence that made everyone present feel a chill down their spine. When forensics arrived, they set up temporary tent with green tarp. A crime scene photographer shot every angle of the car, from mud under chassis to door handle, stuck with algae. A technician bent low, used tweezers to take a brown hair caught on hinge. Another scraped soil sample, stuck on tire, into glass tube. Hensley watched, silent, noting, raincoat soaked. A young officer looked around, said quietly, "Could she just got lost?" Hensley looked up, his eyes no longer the usual soft. "No girl leaves her car like this and walks in the night, in fog by the river," he replied, voice even, firm. He approached the car, looked closely at under door, a slight skid mark on the ground, as if the wheels were pushed from behind, not self-stopped. He lightly touched the door edge, fingertips wet cold, faint gasoline smell in the air. Forensics found a few fabric fibers stuck on door edge. A strange shoe print, faint in mud, at least 2 sizes bigger than Amy's foot. They numbered with white chalk, photographed every detail, careful as if afraid to erase the only remaining trace. By noon, when the car was pulled out of the mud, pale light shone on the peeling yellow paint. Jensen stood back, looking at the scene. Small people in wet grass, barricade tape fluttering lightly in wind, the car standing still like a stranded wreck. He swallowed hard, whispered, "Where could she go?" No one answered. All just heard the river water lapping the bank and the camera clicks. Finally, when everything collected, sealed and numbered, Hensley walked one last circle around the car. He bent down, looked into the empty driver's seat, hands still mud-stained, said softly but clearly, "She didn't leave alone." No one replied. But in the team's eyes, that truth was clear as the murky water swirling under their feet. Heavy, silent, and irreversible. That same afternoon, Amy's yellow Chevy Nova was towed to the Coos County Forensics Yard. It was still raining, water drops falling on the tin roof like a slow clock tick. Smell of mud, gasoline, and rust, mixed into an unpleasant odor, seeping throughout the small lab behind the police headquarters. The team was too used to road accidents, but when they looked at Amy's car, everyone felt something off. The car almost undamaged, no significant scratches, just covered in algae and wet mud. It didn't look like a car drifted in river, nor abandoned it like it was placed there. Chief Forensic Technician, Mrs. Lorna Decker, gloved in latex, walked around the car with sharp, cold eyes. "We start from inside," she said. Car door opened carefully. Damp and gas and gasoline smell rushed out, making air thick. On driver's seat, seatbelt buckled back, seat tilted slightly back. Mrs. Decker leaned in, examined closely the door handle. A brown hair stuck to the paint, long and fine, not matching Amy's hair color. "Sample this," she said quietly. Assistant brought tweezers and glass tube, everything done slowly, carefully, as if the car holding someone's last breath. Back seat, Amy's purse still closed. Inside wallet, a few friend photos and song notebook. No signs of rummaging, no scratches on leather. Mrs. Decker breathed out lightly. If this is kidnapping, perpetrator didn't look for money. They checked every corner, dashboard, rearview mirror, floor. No blood, no struggle traces, no significant scratches. Under floor mat, just a few dry leaves and mud dried into brown streaks. One technician knelt to examine under chassis, used knife to scrape wet soil. When flashlight swept in, mud under chassis gleamed pale red, different from Coos Bay's dark soil. "We need sample this," he said, voice low but urgent. They took 5 samples from different positions, wheels, front chassis, rear wheel well, all same strange red ochre. When compared to scene soil, result clear, no match. Coos Bay soil mineral rich, gray-brown, while that mud had red clay composition, typical inland, near Eel Creek mine forest. Preliminary report noted, sample soil origin, Eel Creek area, about 10 miles north Coos Bay. Ray Hensley read the paper in silence, eyes darkened. "Car wasn't abandoned," he said. "It was brought here." The statement made the room dead silent. A car still with keys, headlights on, radio playing music. No blood, no struggle signs, yet carrying soil from another area. That could only have one explanation. Someone drove it. Mrs. Decker continued checking tires. Uneven wear, especially right front tire, indicating been on rough terrain, possibly forest road or abandoned mine. "This, not asphalt wear," she said, then pointed to scratch alongside, "and this from tree trunk, not collision with another car." Hensley lit cigarette, stood by window looking at rain, smoke mixing with damp. He remembered Eel Creek mine area, where red dirt roads abandoned since 60, only hunters and loggers went. That place 10 miles from Coos Bay, and this summer, only one local worked there, Frank Dillard. But Hensley didn't say yet. He just nodded. Signaled secretary note, file preliminary record. By evening, when all samples sealed, numbered and into cold storage, Mrs. Decker compiled first report. Her voice steady when reading. No blood signs, no injury signs, discovered one brown hair not matching victim sample, soil samples under chassis, not from Coos Bay area. Temporary conclusion, car likely moved from elsewhere. The room sank in typewriter clicks. Hensley signed at end of report. Case hash 79-2147. Missing person suspicious circumstances. He put down pen, looked through foggy glass to yard, where yellow Nova lay quiet under wet tarp, light reflecting dimly on faded paint. A cold wind blew, making tarp cord flutter lightly. In the moment, he thought he saw a girl's shadow leaning on car, hair wet with fog. He closed eyes, breathed out long. Outside, night gradually covering Coos Bay, and the yellow car silent like an unanswered question. 2 days after Amy's yellow Chevy Nova was brought to forensics, the search expanded. Sheriff Ray Hensley stood in the middle of the temporary command room in Coos Bay Port Warehouse, map spread wide on table. Red pins marked entire area along river, extending north to edge of Cieslaw National Forest. If the car was brought from elsewhere, perpetrator could be from mine area, he said, finger tapping lightly on red ink circle position. Outside, rain stopped but fog still not lifted. Sea salt smell, mixed with pine resin, whole town like held in thick air of anxiety and waiting. More than 60 people mobilized, police, rescue workers, volunteers, local fishermen. 2 state police helicopters flew along river, sweeping beams down deep water areas. On ground, small groups waded through reeds, carrying walkie-talkies and forest maps. A sonar team deployed on boat, scanning Coos riverbed in narrow strips. Engine noises mixed in waves, steady but heavy. Everyone knew, if Amy's still alive, time against them. Hensley with Lieutenant Jensen followed the foot search team. Dirt road into Cieslaw Forest, slick like waxed. Each step sank deep in mud. This girl probably never been here, Jensen said, voice low. Hensley just replied with short look, eyes deep with fatigue. They walked in silence, between towering trees, only leaf falls and radio occasional from other groups. Around noon, helicopter team reported strange light streak at River Bend, where water slow and much drift debris. Sonar boat dispatched, dragnet lowered, strange shapes faint on screen. Logs, branches, trash pieces, but no body. Only when Jensen bent near bank, he saw a small thing floating in water grass, a white object. He used stick to pull, mud stuck spreading. It was a small sneaker, sole worn, laces frayed, but blue logo on heel still clear. He recognized immediately, same type Amy wore party night. The shoe placed in evidence bag, sealed carefully. When brought to family, Amy's mother just one look. She trembled hand, nodded lightly, then cried without sound. Hensley said nothing, just held hat to chest, eyes looking far out window, where fog thickening again. To him, that was moment case beyond missing person scope. That was boundary every cop fears crossing, when hope turns to evidence. Afternoon, emergency meeting convened. Each report read clearly, meticulously, no struggle traces at car, no body along river. Only red soil streak and white shoe. Girl can't vanish like that herself, Decker said. Forensics head, voice calm, but eyes worried. Another officer added, Lave, no direct violence evidence, but all points to one thing. She was forced from the car. Hensley stood up, lit cigarette, white smoke, dissolved slow in pale yellow light. We're no longer searching for a lost person, he said, voice gravelly. We're hunting perpetrator. Room dead silent, only pen scratches. He pointed to map 319, circled around Eel Creek mine area, where red soil mined from 60s decade, now abandoned. This only place in 20-mile radius with that red mud. From here to Coos River, over half-hour drive. He had time to clean everything. Next morning, search team shifted north. Men carrying shovels, wood stakes, went deep into forest, waded through water ditches and mud pits. Helicopters continued scanning hills. Boats ran slow along current. But Siaslaw, forest dense, no roads, no houses. Only pine smell, soil_sound and water vapor. They searched 3 days, only found rusty metal pieces and old beer cans. Only human traces. By 4th day, search narrowed. Hensley sat on jeep cabin, looking out to distant forest area, where fog covered white like smoke. He no longer spoke, just flipped back and forth. Amy's graduation photo, young face, bright, eyes looking straight into lens, as if not knowing one day, whole town would call her name in desperation. End of day meeting, he signed summary report. No body recovered, no additional evidence. Subject missing under suspicious circumstances. Below, bold and short handwriting. Possible abduction. Possible homicide. When leaving headquarters, sky already dark, fog pulled back, thicker than first nights. Along riverbank, police lights flashing reflected on water like yellow eyes. Hensley stopped, looked at Black River flowing silently, then said very quietly, "Almost no one heard. If you're still out there, we'll find you." But in his heart, it had changed. From moment White Shoe pulled up, everything only question, not where Amy is, but who took her there. 1 week after search stopped, Coos Bay town became uneasily quiet. Flyers with Amy Whitmore's face pasted everywhere on power poles, supermarkets and gas stations. Eyes in graduation photo looked straight out to road like waiting someone recognize her, but no one had more info. In small meeting room of county sheriff's office, Sheriff Ray Hensley stood before whiteboard full of notes, pinned photos, and map. "We start narrowing the circle," he said, voice hoarse after many sleepless days. "No body, no violence evidence. But someone moved the car, and that person knows local terrain." 3 names written on board. First was Mike Jordan, Amy's ex-boyfriend, 19 years old, freshman in Salem, just home summer break. They dated nearly a year, broke up spring before graduation. Mike called in for questioning first. He appeared in jeans, eyes sunken, face still youthful. Mike stated that August 24th night, he worked night shift at Miller's Fuel gas station near town center. Left shift at 2 a.m., had time card and 2 co-workers confirm. When asked last saw Amy, when Mike bowed headlong, then said, "She came to station once back in June, just to return record. We didn't talk since." Statement matched records, no lie signs. Hensley lightly crossed a line through Mike's name. Second name Frank Dillard, 31 years old, wood mill worker at Timberline Factory, lived alone in old wooden house, less than 3 miles from Siaslaw Forest area. Dillard, once arrested for bar fight in 1976, but record cleared. He tall, big, thick beard, lazy eyes. When police knocked, Dillard wiping hands with oily rag, pine resin and gasoline smell mixed around him. He cooperative, even invited them in. "I heard about missing girl. Poor thing," Dillard said, voice even. "That night I home, watched TV late, then slept." Hensley looked around. House simple, unexpectedly neat, for single man, but everything seemed arranged too carefully. On table gas receipt, August 24th, printed time 11:42 p.m. At McCullough's Corner Station, same route Amy passed. When asked, Dillard shrugged. "I filled gas after work, then home right away. I live near there, you know." Hensley asked more. "What you usually watch Friday nights?" "News, then comedy show." "Nothing much." He answered slowly. No blink. Hensley looked closely. Dillard's hands, nails with red soil stains, stuck deep in cuticles. "What wood you work with?" "Douglas fir, usual type," Dillard replied, then faint smile. "I never been where that girl vanished. I know nothing." When they left, Jensen whispered, "He's lying." Hensley no reply, just nodded lightly. "He knows we suspect, and he's waiting to see what we have." Third suspect. A long-haul truck driver, named Carl Owens, reported stopped rest near Coos Bay, August 24th night. Initially, witness said saw Owens' truck parked near McCullough Bridge at midnight. However, transport company data confirmed he left area 2 hours before and had delivery receipt in Eugene at dawn. Owens cleared after short questioning. When only Dillard left, Hensley decided thorough check his file. Report showed Dillard worked short-term at Eel Creek Mine in 1974, where red soil mined characteristically, type mud identical to found under Amy's car chassis. Plus, he left shift early August 24th, left mill before 10 p.m. Hensley tapped pen on table. A person worked at mine, lives alone, has pickup truck filled gas exact place, girl passed, and claims home watching TV. All matches, except one. No one saw him home that night. Police took the gas receipt to forensics. Fingerprints on it matched Dillard. The printed time of 11:42 p.m. caused his statement to collapse. When called back for more questioning, Dillard just shrugged. Maybe the station clock was wrong, I don't remember. He smiled tiredly, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Jensen stepped outside, looked at Hensley. He's too calm, like he's rehearsing a script. But despite rising suspicions, police couldn't arrest. No witnesses, no body, no direct evidence to charge. Oregon State Bureau of Investigation refused intervention, deeming the case lacking criminal elements. Hensley lightly slammed the table. Lacking elements, but enough for me to know he's involved. He turned to Decker, forensics head. Try to find more from that soil sample. Anything leading to Eel Creek Mine. She nodded, but eyes sad. If we don't have a body, Ray, court won't listen to you. Hensley silent. He stood looking out window, where afternoon fog began covering Coos Bay again, blurring even the port lights. He knew, the case drifting into cold waters of doubt and deadlock. But in his head, the name Frank Dillard still echoed, heavy like stone falling to river bottom. A man living near forest, worked at red soil mine, gas receipt, matching time. A girl vanished. And though no evidence, Hensley swore he wouldn't let him forget the girl's eyes in the photo. Eyes looking straight, bright and steadfast. The only thing left amid the darkness closing around the Amy Whitmore case. Late fall 1979, first winter rains began pouring on Coos Bay. Pine forest turned gray-black, sea wind blew bone-chilling, as if sweeping away the last remaining hope. Amy Whitmore case then dragged nearly 4 months, but no additional clues. All collected samples hit dead ends, no witnesses, no crime signs, just an abandoned car and a shoe drifting in river. File thicker than 500 pages, crisscrossed notes, question marks, and temporary conclusions. December 2, 1979. Sheriff Ray Hensley signed the decision. Suspend investigation due to lack of evidence. That was the moment he hated most in life. News of closing the case spread quickly. Local paper ran small headline on page 3. Police find no trace of missing girl. For most town folks that was sad but logical end. People too tired from fear. But for Whitmore family, it was an invisible sentence. Amy's mother, Mrs. Clara, still woke each morning, brewed coffee for husband, placed a cup at daughter's seat. The cup cooled, but she never cleared it. Her father, Mr. Harold, silently each afternoon went to McCullough Bridge, stood looking down murky water, as searching for something he dared not name. They still paid phone bill for 3 years, in case call from strange number, in case their daughter just got lost. Meanwhile, Hensley still not let go. Every night he reread file, tried to find a detail overlooked for months. No disappearance this clean, he said to Lieutenant Jensen one late evening in office, voice low hoarse. If accident, we'd see body. If murder, we'd have blood. But here, nothing at all. Like she dissolved into air. Jensen, silent, looked at old man bowed over file stack. Outside glass, rain tapped sporadic rhythm, reflecting pale yellow streetlight. By 1980, case budget cut, officers reassigned to bank robbery investigation in Roseburg. Filing cabinet Whitmore, Amy, 17 missing, moved to storage basement in Coos County Courthouse. Crime scene photos, evidence, Red soil reports, strange hair, all packed into 3 brown boxes, sealed. Red pen on cover, suspicious circumstances, unsolved. Hensley continued working 7 more years. He witnessed many other cases, deaths with bodies, guilty convicted, but Amy's disappearance haunted like ghost. Occasionally, when someone saw a girl like Amy in Portland or Seattle, he personally drove to check, but always returned silent. He started insomnia. Wife recounted many nights he sat on porch, cigarette in hand, looking north toward Eel Creek Mine area, where he believed everything started and ended there. March 1986, he submitted retirement. In simple farewell ceremony at county headquarters, when local reporter asked which case haunted him most, Hensley just said one sentence. "I've never seen a disappearance this clean." He said no more, no explanation. That sentence later became final note in Coos County Sheriff's internal file, below his scrawled signature, ink smudged from damp. Same year, Amy Whitmore file officially transferred to cold case category. 3 old file boxes resealed. New label, Coos County Cold File 79-147. They placed on highest shelf in Salem storage room, next to hundreds other cases, where dust, quiet and no one entered except archivist each year end. New recruits later, only new name Amy Whitmore through few lines in training handbook, missing teen, 1979, presumed dead. Hensley moved to live with daughter in Eugene, still kept Amy's photo in wood frame on desk. Once, people asked if he thought case ever solved. He just sad smile. If something's still underground, sooner or later it'll surface. Question is if we patient enough to wait. That sentence, like Amy Whitmore case, buried under thousands other files for years after, until new generation investigators rediscovered them and found that though people forget, the earth never does. 13 years later, summer 1992. Siaslaw National Forest, still dense, desolate as ever, old trails now covered thick dry leaves and moss, so dense light couldn't penetrate. Eel Creek Mine area fenced off, warning sign, danger, unstable ground, tilting in sea wind. No one mentioned missing 17-year-old girl from years ago. In Coos Bay, people accustomed to seeing it as sad past story, until morning of July 14 that year, when 2 forestry workers in logging team discovered something they wished they never saw. They were cousins, Travis and Joel, men checking transport roads in forest. That morning, overcast sky, mist-covered ground. When reaching near southern edge Eel Creek area, Joel slipped down small slope, soil caved, creating hole about 3 feet deep. He cursed softly, then stopped. Under his foot, amid dark wet soil, something ivory white protruded. At first he thought root or animal bone, but when Travis shone flashlight, shape clearer, round, smooth, and bearing contours of human skull. No one spoke for few seconds. Wind whistled through forest. Leaves rustled like ancient whispers. Travis pulled radio, hand shaking. "Control, we need support now at Eel Creek Mine area. Possible human remains." Lane County Sheriff's team arrived after 2 hours. New Sheriff Rick Samuels, who replaced Hensley after retirement, directly to scene. He stood looking small soil pit, then signaled forensics team start work. Nylon tarp spread out, barricade fence erected in forest, halogen lights turned on though sky still bright. That scene, artificial light strip lost in deep green, made everyone silent. Forensic technician, short-haired female specialist named Lori Kemp, knelt beside pit. She carefully used soft brush to dust wet soil around white object. Chunks of soil fell away, revealing nearly intact skull, still attached to jawbone. Nearby, few longer bone fragments, possibly arm and leg, mixed in tree roots. No clothing, no necklace, no personal items left. "This been here long," Lori said quietly. Eyes not leaving pit. "I guess at least over 10 years. They expanded area. Found few more scattered bone fragments within 2-meter radius, possibly animal dug up. Soil here, characteristic red color, same type as sample once appeared in 1979 file. But no one on team recognized that. To them, just a human bone discovery, and such cases in Oregon, amid dense forest and old mines, not rare. When samples collected, packaged and labeled, Lori temporary named file, Jane Doe, Siaslaw 1992. Initial report sent to State Forensics Office noted, female gender, estimated age 16 to 20, time of death about 10-15 years prior. No personal items, no clear external force evidence. Conclusion open. Identity undetermined. Need further genetic analysis technology. But in 1992, DNA still luxury, only used for big city major cases. County cases like this, especially no suspect, often overlooked. Next day, remains brought to State Forensics Lab in Salem. Lori went along, held bone box on lap entire drive, hand gripping lid tight, as if afraid lose something invisible. Upon arrival, samples arranged on stainless steel table, each bone wiped dry and numbered. Forensic report confirmed no recent fractures, only natural wear from time and environment. They photographed every angle, measured lengths, x-rayed, then finally placed all in special preservation bags, labeled code, Jane Doe, #9207. Lori looked at black printed numbers on nylon bag and wondered who that girl once was, a tourist, a runaway, or just someone forgotten in forest. She noted in notebook, no clothing, no jewelry, no artificial tech traces, death silent, swallowed by time. Final report sent to Oregon State Police Office. 3 weeks later, Samuels read, just sighed, then signed transfer file to storage. No identity, no crime signs, he said. Keep for possible future match. 3 other file boxes pushed in together. Jane Doe, #9207, code printed on label, placed on 3rd row shelf in Salem Evidence Facility. Cold storage. Cold vapor rose like thin smoke, surrounding nameless remains nylon bags, the dead no one searched for. In forensics, internal report, final note wrote briefly, presumed deceased for more than a decade. DNA technology, not applicable at current capacity. File closed, and cold storage door shut with metal screech. None of them, including Lori Kemp, knew they just touched the answer buried over 13 years. Answer for a girl named Amy Whitmore, who left on a foggy summer night and never returned. Cioslaw Forest kept it secret, another 21 years, silent as breath, until another generation reopened the cold box. Coded Jane Doe, #9207, and let red soil once more tell what people had forgotten. Throughout 2 decades after Cioslaw Forest discovery, named Jane Doe, #9207, gradually forgotten, like hundreds other nameless in Oregon State. Cold storage. 1993, final forensics report sent to Coos County Sheriff's, stamped identity undetermined, retained for future match. A copy attached to old file coded case #79-2147, Amy Whitmore, then both file sets neatly stored in steel cabinet basement Coos County Courthouse. From then, they lay still. No one reopened, no one mentioned. 1990s passed. Investigation technology changed faster than human memory. DNA became breakthrough, but only applied to priority cases. In Coos Bay, limited budget made cold cases nearly forgotten. In old office, Sheriff Hensley's desk replaced by new, and those once worked Amy Whitmore case all retired or transferred. No one remembered 3 old paper boxes in storage, except archivist Mrs. Alice Dunn, who sometimes paused looking at yellowed labels, ink smudged from damp. Whitmore, Amy, 1979. She said, each time passing that shelf, she felt unusual silence, like cold waiting someone to open. Time wore everything down. Ink on statements gradually faded. Polaroid photos blurred. Old plastic evidence bags started yellowing. Some seal labels peeled edges. Glue dry. Codes nearly unreadable. Inside one evidence bag, Amy's song notebook moldy damp. Pages stuck together. Storage manager noted briefly in 1999 inventory log. Minor damage from humidity. No need replace. Not related to active case. Meanwhile, remains coded Jane Doe #9207 lay in Salem Evidence Facility cold storage, cabinet 14, 3rd row. Temperature kept at -2 degrees C. Each year, forensic staff periodic check, measure temp and note in log. No status change, preservation stable, no one knew who girl in nylon bag once was, and gradually, no one wanted to know. To them, just a file code. Nameless, emotionless. 2005, Oregon State launched Digital Evidence Conversion Project to digitize all criminal files from 1950s. Thousands cases scanned, stored in central database. Young staff sat at computers, opened each old file, photographed, entered name, case code, then moved to next box. When reaching Cold Case 1979 to 1985 section, supervisor checked list and crossed off few no legal value to save budget. Among them 2 codes, case hash 79-2147 and Jane Doe hash 9207. Reason noted clearly in internal report, no suspect, no DNA sample, no court request, skip scan round. And so 2 names, one with face, one without, again sidelined from history. Brown paper boxes still on old metal shelf, covered extra dust layer. Each time storage staff turned on fluorescent lights, dust flew in streaks like thin smoke. No one knew that in those nylon bags and faded reports hid clues to connect 2 seemingly separate cases. In Coos Bay, Whitmore family no longer there. Mr. Harold passed 1998. Mrs. Clara moved to nursing home in Eugene, where she still kept daughter's photo in small silver frame. Each Amy's birthday, she placed white daisies by window and said, "If you're still somewhere, Mom's still waiting." Those words no one heard, but elsewhere, deep in Siaslaw Forest, red soil still silent, like keeping promise. Another 17 years would pass before someone first reread faded line on file cover. Suspicious circumstances, missing 1979. By then, DNA technology widespread, but what revived case not technique, but chance glance of a young female investigator who refused accept a girl, could vanish in world silent like that. For now, 2012, in Salem cold storage, lights auto off when last staff left. Heavy steel door closed, metal screech echoed, then dissolved into silence. On third row shelf, Jane Doe hash 9207 label, faded nearly unreadable. No one knew just one more year. Someone would enter, reopen that file, and make past rise from where it buried. March 2013. Heavy spring rain poured down Salem, Oregon, when Detective Aaron Voss stepped into headquarters of Oregon Cold Case Review Unit. New unit established under federal funding to review unsolved files. She 33 years old, blonde hair tied neat, gray-blue eyes, bearing determination, often seen in those witnessed too many cases, but not learned indifference yet. Aaron once worked Eugene Crime Investigation Room, nearly 7 years, famous for detail memory and data structure reasoning. But even she didn't expect first job in new team would pull her to past dust-covered nearly 30 years. Unit storage room in old basement state admin building, where fluorescent lights flickered on ceiling and air, always faint damp paper smell. Thousands file boxes stacked to ceiling, each box an unfinished story. Aaron assigned to review missing persons cases, possibly linked to unidentified remains, stored in Salem Evidence Facility. Each week, she read dozens old reports, compare notes, find matches in geography and time. Tedious work, but to Aaron, it made her feel alive. Each file is a person once existed, she told colleague, and our task return name to them. Afternoon, April 12th. When opening old box labeled COS County, cold file hash 79-2147, Aaron noticed few unusual details. File cover yellowed, paper edges crumbly, but still readable red handwritten line by Sheriff Hensley. Suspicious circumstances. Red soil, not local. Phrase, red soil, made her pause. In Salem unidentified files list, she just read this morning had similar note in Jane Doe hash 9207 case. Soil, reddish silt, Eel Creek area. She frowned. 2 cases, 2 times 13 years apart. Same rare red soil, only in abandoned mine North Coos Bay. Aaron pulled chair, opened both files side by side. First file, Amy Whitmore, 17 years old, missing August 1979. Evidence, yellow Chevy Nova, no blood, red mud. Strange hair, white shoe drifted river. Case closed due lack body and witnesses. Second file. Jane Doe #9207. Human bones discovered Cieslaw Forest, July 1992. Notes: female, 16-20 years old, died about 10-15 years, no personal items, identity undetermined. Aaron read to conclusion. Presumed deceased for over a decade. DNA analysis unavailable. She sat straight up. 10 to 15 years. If correct, Jane Doe's death time perfectly matched year Amy vanished. She quickly noted few lines in notebook. Coos Bay, Eel Creek Mine. Missing August 1979. Remains found July 1992. Female 16-20 match possible. Whitmore case. No closure. Aaron lightly tapped fingers on table. Habit when thoughts forming. She felt something sting in chest. Not intuition, but cold logic of numbers. She opened Oregon State geography map, zoomed Coos Bay and Cieslaw Forest area. Both positions marked red, only over 2 miles bird flight apart. She sat still long, looking 2 red dots connected by imaginary line. Can't be coincidence, she said quietly. That evening, Aaron stayed office late. When colleagues left, she opened email to Salem Forensics Lab. To Oregon State Forensic Lab subject, DNA comparison request. Coos County Cold File #79-2147 and Jane Doe #9207. Message: possible correlation between missing person and unidentified remains, both connected to Eel Creek Mine area. Request authorization to extract DNA from bone sample #9207 and cross-check with hair sample from evidence box #3. Case #79-2147. Detective Aaron Voss. She hit send, then leaned back in her chair, listening to the rain tapping steadily on the window. A feeling of excitement mixed with heaviness crept through her chest, like standing before a door locked for too long. That's about to open. 3 days later, she received a response from the forensics lab chief, Dr. Hannah Morales. She agreed to proceed with the comparison, but warned the bone sample is old, preserved nearly 20 years, may not yield DNA clean enough. However, we'll try with the lab's new mini-STR technique. Aaron read the email, smiled lightly. To her, May was already a start. End of April, she drove down to Coos Bay to gather more data. The coastal road foggy, old wooden bridges, still standing silent, like in the 1979 photo she'd seen in the file. The town smaller than she imagined, subdued, as if still holding the breath of the past. She stopped at the old police station, now a community archive. An elderly employee, named Alice Dunn, opened the door, recognized the line on the authorization paper, then smiled sadly. "You're the first to ask about Amy Whitmore in nearly 30 years." She led her to the basement, where 3 dust-covered file boxes lay quiet. When Aaron opened the lid, musty smell wafted out. Old statements, still bearing Hensley's black ink signature, handwriting slightly shaky. Inside, evidence bag holding the hair strand, still sealed intact. Aaron gloved up, checked label, the writing nearly faded but still readable. Hair sample. Driver's door. She closed the box lid, eyes slowly scanning the room. Dust floated dim under the beam from the single ceiling bulb, like time suspended, waiting for someone's touch to let it flow on. On the way back to Salem, Aaron turned on the radio. Weather forecast spoke of heavy rain lasting the week. She looked outside, saw sky sunk in fog, and thought of the 17-year-old girl who vanished on a similar summer night. That evening, in the note sent to superiors, Aaron wrote, "If Jane Doe 9207 is Amy Whitmore, this case is no longer missing, it's murder." Then she closed the notebook, breathed out slowly. Outside, spring rain fell thicker, and somewhere in Salem's cold storage, nylon bags coded 9207 waited to be opened. June 2013, morning in Oregon State Forensics Lab, started like any day. Cold white light covering steel table rows, centrifuge machines humming, faint chemical smell lingering in air. But that day, room atmosphere something different. On Dr. Hannah Morales's workbench, a small box holding bone sample from Jane Doe 9207 file, next to evidence bag containing hair recovered from Amy Whitmore's Chevy Nova in 3 decades past. 2 samples lay in 2 different worlds, one of missing girl, one of nameless remains, now placed side by side as if waiting for an answer. "Begin sample extraction," Morales said, voice even and low, while lab techs in clean suits moved around table. A small bone piece, taken from most intact femur area, placed on tray. They used grinder to thin surface, separate dense tissue, grind fine in tube with cleaning solution. Centrifuge machine started spinning, creating light whir, as if awakening something slept too long, Morales observed, knowing this not just routine test. She'd seen many files like this, but rare one made her feel coincidence so stark. "If DNA's still intact enough," she said quietly, "we can return her name to that girl." 3 days later, first results appeared on computer screen. Short gene sequence strands displayed. Not complete, but enough for hair comparison. Tech named Bryce leaned toward screen, fingers trembling typing command to run matching software. When comparison graph appeared, whole room dead silent. Genetic markers overlapped nearly absolute. Bryce looked up, eyes wide, matched to 99.87%. Morales said nothing, just gripped table edge lightly. She knew what that meant. Hair found in Amy Whitmore's Chevy Nova and bone from Jane Doe 9207 were from same person. She immediately called Detective Aaron Voss. Phone rang 3 times. "Aaron, Hannah here. We have results." Other end silent few seconds. Only rain tapping steady on car roof. "Is it her?" Aaron asked, voice hoarse. Morales replied briefly. "Very high probability, but to confirm, we need relative DNA sample." 3 days later, Aaron drove to Springfield, where Amy's brother Daniel Whitmore lived with family. The 9-year-old boy on day Amy vanished, now middle-aged man, hair graying, eyes still holding unending sadness. When Aaron presented authorization paper and explained purpose, Daniel just nodded. "If that's my sister, I want to bring her home," he said, voice choking. He agreed to buccal swab. Process happened in silence, just a cotton swab light swipe in mouth, but to Aaron, it carried weight of all lost time. Sample sent immediately to Salem Forensics Lab. 1 week later, Morales called Aaron back, voice calm but unable to hide emotion. "Aaron, we compared with relative sample. 16 genetic markers match completely. Jane Doe 9207 is Amy Whitmore." Aaron sat still. Pen fell from hand. She said nothing few seconds. Outside office window, Salem sky still gray, but in her heart, something like light seeped in after months, sunk in dusty files. 34 years, she whispered, and finally she has her name back. June 22, 2013. Official identification report, signed and sent to Oregon Cold Case Review Unit. Result: DNA analysis confirms identity match between Jane Doe 9207 and Amy Whitmore. Conclusion: subject deceased. Case reclassified as homicide investigation. Same day, Aaron drove to nursing home in Eugene. Mrs. Clara Whitmore, Amy's mother, now 83 years old, sat in chair by window, old shawl draped over shoulders. Aaron didn't know how to start. She placed file stack on table, gently said, "Ma'am, we found Amy," the old lady's silent, long, cloudy eyes looking out sky, where afternoon sun shone down tree canopies. "I know," she said softly, voice trembling. A child's mother always knows. Tears rolled slow on wrinkled cheeks, but faint smile still appeared. "Thank you, now she can come home." Few weeks later, Amy's remains brought from Salem to Coos Bay, in small wooden box covered white cloth. Funeral held quietly by riverbank, where yellow Nova once found. Old classmates, now parents, stood in light rain, hands holding white daisies. When box lowered into earth, a woman whispered, "Welcome back, Amy." Aaron stood far off, observing. She didn't cry. In her head, echoed Hensley's words she'd read in old file. "I've never seen a disappearance this clean." Now that sentence could be completed. Clean to point time, nearly erased all traces, but still couldn't erase truth. That evening, back at office, Aaron opened newly printed file, case hash 79-2147, reclassified, homicide investigation. She pasted additional note inside, victim identity confirmed, Amy Whitmore. Case officially reopened. Perpetrator still undetermined. She turned off light, leaving only small desk lamp, illuminating photo of Amy smiling in graduation gown. After 34 years, her name spoken again, not as mystery, but as person. And from that moment, Amy Whitmore's missing case became murder. One Aaron Voss swore not let forgotten again. July 2013. Rain still fell steady on Coos Bay coastal roads, but in Cold Case Investigation Team Temporary Office, Detective Aaron Voss, reconnecting a path broken 34 years before. On wall, she hung large digital map of area, zoomed from latest LiDAR terrain data, overlaid on 1979 Coos County old map. Data layers she pieced meticulously. Travel routes, car discovery location, Eel Creek Mine, Siaslaw Forest where remains found. Each marker a red pin, scattered like footsteps of past. She started from last piece, she had forensics report. Confirming Jane Doe #9207 remains were Amy Whitmore. From there, she went backward, reconstructing missing night, August 24, 1979. Amy left friend Marcia Kellogg's house at 11:15 p.m., drove yellow Chevy Nova on Highway 101 southbound. Route, only under 10 miles, should take no more than 20 minutes. But car found next morning by Coos Riverbank, only 5 miles from home. That meant someone made her stop midway or forced her to turn different direction. Aaron zoomed map on screen, Amy's path, simulated as glowing streak moving through GPS markers. She overlaid geological data from Resources Department, red soil of Eel Creek area, clear on map like blood streak, only about 8 miles north of Nova discovery spot. When she placed cursor there, window popped. Eel Creek Mine, closed 1968, site abandoned, soil high iron content, reddish silt. She pursed lips. That's it, she whispered. She dug old file, Decker Forensics 1979, report still intact, Sheriff Hensley's shaky note, soil sample consistent with Eel Creek Mine area. Words nearly matched 2013 analysis lab sent her. 34 years, 2 generations, same conclusion. That red soil didn't lie. Aaron leaned back in chair, looked at glowing lines on map, then opened old suspect folder. First name, Frank Dillard. She read slow each line. 31 years old in 1979, timberline wood mill worker, lived alone, worked at Eel Creek Mine, left shift early 8/24 evening. Gas receipt, 11:42 p.m. At McCullough's Corner, same route victim passed. She slid mouse on map, drew line from McCullough's Corner to Eel Creek Mine, then down Coos Bay, exactly direction red soil traces on Amy's car pointed. She marked each stop, then overlaid 1979 scene report. Parallel tire impressions in mud not matching victim vehicle, larger size, small truck tire pattern. She paused, opened new data file from evidence storage, scanned tire mark photos compared with modern software. Tire tread patterns clear, double diamond shape, only on 1969 Firestone all-terrain type, old truck tires Timberline mill, used for worker wood hauling. Aaron opened 1979 Timberline personnel report, and Frank Dillard's name appeared again. Notes section, assigned vehicle Chevy C10 pickup, Firestone AT tires. She breathed out lightly, each puzzle piece fitting, precise to chilling. Afternoon, Aaron drove to Eel Creek area. Red dirt road, overgrown grass, only few rusted private property signs. She stopped car, stepped out. Forest air thick, damp and iron smell. Each footstep sank into fine red soil like powder, gleaming blood color when sun slanted through canopy. She knelt, grasped handful soil, squeezed lightly between hands. Cool, heavy feeling. 34 years, and this still here, she said quietly. Back at office, she requested tech reconstruct 3D simulation of Amy's missing night. On screen, terrain model appeared, yellow Nova veered off highway, stopped at mine area. There, large truck appeared behind, Simulation based on tire marks and mud distance. Software calculated time to move car to Coos riverbank about 40 minutes. Perfect match gap between Amy leaving friend's house and car found. Erin stared at model, cold shiver down spine. He had all time and location, she said, almost to herself. That night, she drafted report to superiors, Oregon Cold Case Review Unit, progress report subject. Amy Whitmore homicide soil match confirmed, Eel Creek mine area. Tire impression consistent with Firestone at model, Frank Dillard employed at Timberline. Witness statement, Dillard purchased gas at 11:42 p.m. the 24th of August 79. Route matches victim's path. Conclusion, probable suspect identified, Frank Dillard. Recommendation, surveillance, and re-interview. After printing report, Erin stood up, turned off light. Screen map glow still cast on her face. 2 red points, where Amy vanished, and where found, seemed staring at each other across 3-decade space. All roads, Erin whispered, lead to same place, and only one person ever went there. Outside, night rain started falling. Rain patter on glass, merged with room's breathing rhythm. In moment, Erin thought of scene August 24th, 1979 night. Yellow Nova turned off road. Truck headlights closed in from behind. Fleetwood Mac music played last time. She closed eyes, inhaled deep. Time's game about to end. All facts from red soil, tires, rote, to man. Only one worked there. All pointed one direction. Frank Dillard. August 2013, when first fall rains began blurring Coos Bay. Detective Aaron Voss submitted search warrant request for Frank Dillard's house. File she sent to Oregon State Prosecutor over 200 pages. Attached DNA report, reconstructed route map, and matching evidence between 1979 tire marks and type vehicle Dillard owned. 34 years is long time, she said in internal meeting. But soil doesn't know how to lie, and now time to hear it tell. Warrant approved morning August 9th. Erin with 2 Oregon State Police agents drove to small wooden house on Cieslaw Forest Edge, where Dillard lived over 30 years. House nearly unchanged from old file photo. Rusted tin roof, windows covered tarp, scattered rotten logs around. When they knocked, man opened still face from old black-white photo. Only difference, grayer hair and deeper eyes. Silent, expressionless. You here for that girl? Again, he said, voice gravelly. Erin held warrant out front. Yes, Mr. Dillard, and this time we not leaving with questions. Dillard stood still few seconds, then turned back into house. No protest. Erin signaled tech team. Inside house, dark and stifling, only light from weak yellow bulb hanging ceiling. Smell of machine oil, old wood and tobacco mixed, as if place frozen in some 70s year. All items kept unnaturally neat. Screw jars lined rows, woodwork table polished, even rug not a dust speck. But that neatness made Erin wary, it like control more than tidy. In bedroom, old oak cabinet creaked open. Inside all work clothes, stacked straight. A tech called Erin over, voice slightly shaky. Ma'am, this. He held out small wooden box, rusted lock lid, deep in bottom drawer. Erin gloved, used knife gently open. Inside thin silver bracelet, dulled scratched over years, engraved 3 letters, AW inside band. Under it a metal keychain, whale mascot shape, back engraved North Bend High. Class of 1979. Erin felt palms go cold. She recognized immediately that was Amy Whitmore's high school. Dillard stood at door, watched them silent, mouth corner slight twitch. I picked it up somewhere, he said, tone like repeating old line. Erin looked at him, eyes not leaving. We'll take it for testing, she replied. Tech sealed evidence, separate code number. Meanwhile, another team searched backyard shed. Underfloor, behind damp wood planks, they found old shovel, broken handle, blade rusted red rust, and wrinkled men's shirt stuffed in plastic bag. Both covered full red soil, characteristic type Erin, seen at Elk Creek Mine. All evidence photographed, sealed, and sent to Salem Forensics Lab same day. Dillard not arrested yet, but required stay in Coos Bay, banned leave state. He no objection, just silently nodded. Eyes still not leaving Aaron. I have nothing to hide, he said, voice even. You won't find anything. 4 days later, forensics results sent back. Report 2 pages long, but 1 line made Aaron grip file stack until knuckles white. Microscopic epithelial DNA, recovered from interior of silver bracelet matched to victim sample, Amy Whitmore. Though DNA trace very small, result confirmed. Silver bracelet engraved AW. Had direct skin contact with Amy. Morales, forensics chief, added note. Cannot determine exact time, but DNA couldn't survive 34 years unless item preserved dry. Away light. Keeper surely knew item's value. Aaron read repeat last sentence. Keeper knew item's value. She looked through Dillard's photo. Lonely man lived in forest decades. Carefully kept everything, even traces of crime. When police returned to house for more evidence seizure, Dillard still calm. Just a bracelet, he said, half-laugh voice. Many people drop things like that here. You act like I killed the girl. Aaron looked straight into his eyes, voice cold as steel. Not like Mr. Dillard, we think it was you. Oregon Cold Case Review Unit meeting that evening lasted till midnight. On screen, Aaron presented evidence, DNA match, red soil, at Eel Creek Mine, tire marks, gas receipt, and now silver bracelet. All led to one person only. 34 years ago, we had no DNA, now we do, she said. And now, nothing stops us naming him suspect. State prosecutor signed decision. Frank Dillard, official suspect, case hash 79-2147. When Aaron left meeting room, sky already pitch black. She paused on steps, watched rain fall on pavement. In her head, image of silver bracelet, engraved 3 letters AW, kept gleaming, like reminder from victim herself. I'm still here. Finish what they started, and Aaron knew, after 34 years, real investigation just beginning. Morning November 19, 2013, Coos Bay sky, sunk in thick fog, damp and cold, to point breath of guard standing watch, before Frank Dillard's house vanished like smoke. Before sun could rise, 2 Oregon State Police patrol cars silently stopped on dirt road, leading to wooden house on Cieslaw Forest Edge. In Aaron Voss's hand, official arrest warrant, signed by Oregon federal judge, charge homicide in the 2nd degree, Amy Whitmore, case hash 79-2147. She stepped out of the car, long coat soaked with mist, boots stomping on the waterlogged red soil. Around, small clicks sounded as other officers loaded guns and checked radios. Aaron looked around the familiar house area, where she'd stood a few months earlier for just a search. Now, no more doubt. All traces closed the circle. She took a deep breath. Proceed, she said. 3 knocks on the door echoed, even and strong. No answer, an officer shouted. Frank Dillard, Oregon State Police, we have an arrest warrant. Silence. Then from inside, door opened. Hinges creaking. Frank Dillard appeared in the frame. Old flannel shirt, faded khaki pants, bare hands. He looked at them, deep-set eyes, not surprised, nor afraid. I knew this day would come, he said, gravelly voice. How long did it take you to come back? 30 years. Aaron stepped up, read each word in the warrant clearly. When hearing Amy Whitmore's name, his eyelid twitched slightly. But he said no more, just held out both hands. I won't resist, he said quietly. Handcuffs locked, emitting cold click echoing in mist. He was led to the car, passing through yard, where old pine bushes dropped yellow leaves. Aaron followed, eyes not leaving the man. In that moment, she didn't see a killer, but a figure who'd carried a secret half his life. Secret now no longer his. News spread fast as wind. By noon, the Oregonian's front page ran big headline. Arrest made in 1979 cold case murder. Coos Bay man taken into custody. Below was photo of old wooden house sealed off. Police cars parked full. Local TV opened special bulletin. replayed footage of vehicle carrying Dillard leaving scene, windows reflecting flashing red lights in fog. A reporter said, Frank Dillard, 65 years old, accused related to murder of Amy Whitmore. Girl missing 1979. Police say, DNA evidence and items found at suspect's home led to this arrest. In Eugene, Mrs. Clara Whitmore received call from Aaron, her voice trembling. You say they got him? Aaron softly replied, Yes, ma'am, he's in custody. We'll bring to trial. The old lady silent long. Thank you, she said finally. The child waited so long. At State Police Headquarters in Salem, Frank Dillard brought to holding cell. He sat straight, eyes staring blank at cold concrete wall. Police took photo, fingerprints, then led him through long hallway, where neon lights reflected on shiny wet floor. Erin stood at hallway end, looking through one-way glass. In her head flashed long timeline, from first red mud piece, silver bracelet engraved O2, DNA results. Everything now crystallized in silent man behind glass. When evening news aired, Amy Whitmore's name, first time after over 3 decades, mentioned in past and present at once. Coos Bay folks went to coffee shops, turned on TV, heard that name echo through rain outside door. An elderly woman softly said, I was in class with her. She was gentle, didn't deserve to die like that. Another nodded. Crime took 30 years to drag to light, but at least finally dragged. Late night, Aaron back to office, where lights still on. On desk, Dillard's file opened ready. Gas receipt, work schedule, personnel record, forensics report, photos of bracelet, and rusted shovel. She added to first page line, suspect apprehended. The 19th of November 2013. She knew next leg not easy. A 34-year case, no living witnesses, no confession, only physical evidence and soil's silence. But she also knew, sometimes justice doesn't need screams, it just needs one person who won't forget. Next morning, Frank Dillard transferred to State Police Special Interrogation Room. When officer asked if he wanted lawyer, Dillard just shook head. No need, he replied. Calm voice. You came here to hear, I'll speak, when time comes. Aaron looked through glass, sensed clearly something in his eyes, not fear, but weariness of person, knowing game ended. She turned to colleague, voice low. Tomorrow, I'll interrogate him directly. She gripped file stack in hand, cold feeling up fingertips. After over 30 years, Amy Whitmore's missing finally had a face to confront. But Aaron understood, truth rarely stops at one arrest, and in Frank Dillard's quiet gaze, she sensed something deeper, like he's still holding part of story no one ever heard. Morning, November 20th, 2013. Interrogation room, 3 of Oregon State Police, cold and harshly bright, 4 plain white walls, only metal table, 2 chairs, and small recording device turning. Fluorescent lights shone straight down table, making everything clear, no place to hide. Aaron Voss sat one side, file open before her, while Frank Dillard sat opposite, hands on table, wrists still marked by cuffs, deep-set eyes, but strangely bright. He said nothing when she entered. Didn't look, didn't ask, just sat straight, as if ready for a work session he knew coming long ago. Aaron sat down, turned on recorder, calm voice, interrogation session November 20th, 2013. Detective Aaron Voss, Oregon Cold Case Review Unit. Subject Frank Dillard, suspect in Amy Whitmore case, case hash 79-2000-147. She looked up at him. You know why you're here? Dillard, faint smile, a lip twitch without emotion. You tell. Because we have evidence showing you directly involved in death of Amy Whitmore, girl missing 1979. She dead then? He asked, low voice, almost whisper. You know that, Aaron replied, eyes not leaving. We found her remains in 1992, in Cieslaw Forest, 2 miles from Eel Creek Mine. Air thick, he still no reaction. Aaron leaned forward, opened file, pulled out photo of silver bracelet engraved tomato and placed lightly on table, right before him. You remember this? Dillard glanced, then turned away. I told you I picked it up near house. Aaron no reply, Just pulled second photo of shirt with red soil, next to DNA report. And this? That shirt, maybe mine. I work outside, soil sticks normal. She nodded, voice still soft. Yes, red soil. But that soil, not from Coos Bay. It's only type at Eel Creek mine area, where you worked, right? Dillard's slightly lifted head, eyes flashed wary. Erin knew she just hit point. She turned on small projector, digital map image, appeared on wall, red streak, connecting from McCullough's corner, where he gassed up night August 24th, 1979, to Eel Creek mine area, then down Coos riverbank, where Nova found. This is route Amy took that night, she said slowly. And also your route, per gas receipt, and Firestone. At tire marks, same type as your company truck. He sat silent. Erin continued, low even voice, applying read technique properly, step-by-step psychological pressure, contrasting evidence, letting subject contradict own words. You said you home watching TV that evening, but receipt shows you gassed at 11:42, on same road as her. So sure you home? Maybe I remember wrong, he said quietly, eyes still down on hands. 34 years long time to remember wrong. But soil doesn't forget, Frank. She pushed enlarged photo of red soil sample before him. Red mud from under Amy's car, red mud on your shirt, and red mud around Eel Creek mine, all match perfectly. You can't explain that with fuzzy memory. Dillard looked up, eyes darkened, lips pressed. You think I killed her? Erin looked straight at him, low sure voice. I think you last person saw her alive. Sentence fell into void, long enough to hear ceiling light buzz. He closed eyes, breathed slow, then softly said, 30 years, and you still not forget. No, Erin replied, but you seem want to forget. She stood up, walked around table, placed before him old scene photos, yellow Nova car, keys still in ignition, radio playing Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. You drove car there, right? You wanted people think she vanished at Coos River. He faint dry laugh. You have proof I drove that car. Yes, Erin replied, firm voice. Red mud traces and Firestone marks. No one else had that except your truck. He silent, gaze stopped on car photo, then on silver bracelet. Erin observed, saw small change, shoulders slumped, breath heavier. She knew defense cracking, she said, softer, light as wind. Frank, I not here to make you monster, I just want know what happened. If accident you can say, but silence, not bring her back. Just makes you die slow in your own lies. Dillard looked up, weary eyes. You believe I not intend? Erin looked straight. No answer, she just waited. And he started speaking, hoarse voice, broken. I not mean kill her, she slipped. Room dead silent. Erin not interrupt. He bowed head, hands clasped tight. That day I drove home late, saw her stopped roadside. Her car seemed broke down. I stopped, asked need help. She recognized me, called my name. We met few times at diner near mill. I just meant help, but then argued. She said I drunk, told me, stay away. I grabbed her arm, she yanked free, slipped, fell into ditch by car. I not know what do. He paused, voice choked. She not move. I panicked. Thought she dead. Erin still calm voice. And what you do after? I took her to mine area. There empty, no one see. I buried everything, shirt I wore, shovel, even bracelet she had. I scared. He looked up, eyes wet, but no tears fall. I not mean kill her. Erin looked at him long. In her head, images overlapped. Nova car in fog, red mud, silver bracelet. She knew that confession not hold truth, but enough to close circle Hensley left. She gently asked, weapon where, Frank? She had skull fracture, not just from slip. He looked straight, eyes murky like river water. I not remember. Maybe, I pushed her too hard. Shovel there, I threw away. Buried too, all still at mine area. She noted every word. You not talk about body. No, he replied, slight head shake. I not go back. I not dared. But I know place still keep everything I left. Erin turned off recorder. Room fell silent again. only wind whistle through window. She stood up, gathered file, looked at man before her, one who'd been silent 30 years, now finally let time speak for him. "We'll go there, Frank," she said, low and sure voice. "If what you say true, mine will tell rest." He bowed head, no resist. When two officers entered to take him away, Aaron watched, feeling both cold and heavy. She knew. Interrogation opened first door, but behind it, a whole abyss. And in damp cold darkness of Eel Creek, what Dillard called, everything I buried, still lying there, waiting to be found, not to save him, but to confirm that justice, though late, always has its own memory. 3 days after interrogation, Coos Bay weather turned suddenly cold. Rain drizzled all night, leaving heavy iron-smelling earth on roads into Siaslaw Forest. Early morning, November 23, 2013, police convoy tailed each other north, red lights sweeping streaks through thick fog. In first vehicle, Detective Aaron Voss sat silent, eyes looking through rain-wet glass. Beside her, Frank Dillard handcuffed, orange jacket, gaze fixed outside, like person returning to place he'd tried forget. "You sure?" Aaron asked, even voice. "Sure," he replied, not turn. "I still remember every rock, every tree. It never left me." Rode into Eel Creek mine area today, overgrown weeds and moss. Warning sign, danger, unstable ground, tilting, half broken, half rusted. When convoy stopped, police set safety barricade, erected forensics tents, and turned on portable lights. Space quiet to only hear water drip from high pine canopies. Aaron donned raincoat, walked ahead, while two officers led Dillard behind. He stepped slow, eyes straight, as if counting each step back to past. "There," he said after few minutes, pointed to sunken ground, near mine mouth. 3 meters from rock edge. "I buried shirt and shovel there." "Only shirt and shovel?" Aaron asked. "Yeah, I threw knife nearby. You'll see." Forensics teams started work. They marked area with red plastic stakes, covered tarps against rain. First Tech used metal detector, scanned slow strips of soil, monotonous sound, until machine beeped short. "Metal object here," he said. Dillard stood still, eyes slightly narrowed like seeing something familiar. Dug about half meter, Tech's shovel hit hard object. When soil cleared, light reflected from rusted metal blade, an old folding knife, blade partially broken, wooden handle rotted, lying in red mud. Farron knelt, gloved, lifted it. Knife heavily corroded, but on hinge part still dark brown streaks like rust or long-dried blood. Few steps away, another team dug up dark fabric piece, nearly disintegrated in soil. Tech gently brushed layers, revealing faint white threads, remains of men's shirt. Fabric rotted to touch, separated fibers, but under light, uneven dark stains visible all over. "Could be blood," one said quietly. Aaron stood up, looked at Dillard. He not avoid her gaze. "I told you," he whispered. "Everything's still here. All evidence sealed, labeled, transferred to Salem Forensics Lab that night." Dillard brought back to holding. When car door closed, Aaron looked through foggy glass, saw him sit silent, head slightly bowed. A strong wind gust blew through. Pines swayed. Rain lashed down soil, like place shedding burden it held too long. 3 days later, forensics report sent to her desk. Dr. Hannah Morales's voice on phone somewhat emotional. "Aaron, we're done. DNA analysis on shirt fragment shows blood traces belong to Amy Whitmore. No doubt. She's silent long, only heard rain outside window." "And the knife?" she asked. "On blade still hemoglobin protein, but not enough for DNA extract, only confirm human blood. However, faint fingerprints remaining match Dillard's file from Timberline time." Aaron hung up, sat silent long. On her desk new scene photos, rusted folding knife beside red mud layer, rotted shirt piece in evidence tray, yellow scene lights casting on dark soil veins. She opened notebook, wrote line. "He still remembers every stone where he tried bury truth." That afternoon, she drove back to Eel Creek alone. Rain stopped, only dampness and light breeze through trunks, where they dug day before now covered plastic tarp, marked red stakes. Aaron stepped close, looked down dark soil layer, where evidence lay 3 decades. He came back here many times, she thought, not to check, but to sure past still buried. When she turned to leave, late-day sun peeked through canopy, casting weak light on ground. Red soil gleamed like dried blood streak. Aaron paused, feeling mixed relief and haunt. Truth finally surfaced, but she understood, no one can bury forever what happened, whether in soil, memory, or conscience. That evening, TV news opened with Sicious Law Forest image and scrolling title, New Evidence Recovered in 1979 Coos Bay Murder Case. Reporter said in wind sound, Oregon State Police just announced discovery important evidence at Eel Creek Mine area, including folding knife and blood-stained shirt fragment. DNA samples confirm match victim Amy Whitmore. Suspect Frank Dillard currently detained, awaiting trial. In office, Aaron turned off TV, looked out night sky. On desk, thick file opened ready, first page now stamped red. Evidence confirmed, case hash 79-2147. She lightly touched paper, then closed eyes. All from red soil piece to rusted knife, spoken for words, Dillard never willing say. And somewhere, in forest silence, rain fall like final testimony. No crime truly buried, only truth waiting to be found. 1 week after digging evidence at Eel Creek Mine, collected samples transferred to Oregon State Forensics Lab at Salem. In cold bright room, fluorescent lights reflected on steel tables, each evidence opened per strict protocol. Folding knife, shirt fragment, and red soil sample placed in separate glass boxes. Lead examiner, Dr. Hannah Morales, personally directed. On board she wrote 4 lines. Item 1. Folding knife, Item 2. Fabric fragment, Item 3. Soil sample goal. Confirm linkage, suspect/victim/scene. We need to determine 3 things, Morales said to team. First, whether knife was murder weapon. Second, who held it. And finally, blood on it, related to Amy Whitmore or not. A tech brought knife to special cleaning room. Under microscope, rust layers separated thin. After hours, fingerprint ridges emerged. Faint but clear enough to scan. When results appeared on screen, fingerprint pattern showed spirals matching Frank Dillard's record stored from timberline work, year 1975. Bryce, young tech, looked up at Morales. Perfect match, 100%. She nodded. Confirm step 1. Dillard held this knife. Step 2, blood test. Small piece at hinge cut, dissolved in phenolphthalein reaction solution. Solution turned pink, positive for human hemoglobin. Then, sample into ABO blood group analyzer. Results displayed O+ group, matching Amy Whitmore's blood type in Coos County Hospital record year 1978. Morales noted, in minutes, blood type, consistent with victim. Sample 2 degraded for full STR DNA, but sufficient for grouping confirmation. The shirt fragment was handled more meticulously. After drying and photographing from every angle, they discovered on the left shoulder a crescent-shaped tear, threads pulled backward. The technician simulated on a model showing that tear corresponded to force direction from behind downward angle, nearly matching the left skull fracture of Amy per 1992. Remains examination report. Morales signaled stop, looked at image projected on screen, skull X-ray photo and tear simulation overlapped nearly perfect. This not fall, she said quietly. Strong narrow impact, like knife edge or metal object. In microscopic section, red mud particles embedded in fabric fibers analyzed and resulted identical to Eel Creek mine area soil, same mineral composition and iron oxide level. 3 factors, fingerprints, blood type and soil, now linked suspect, victim and scene into undeniable coordinate. 16-page synthesis report printed. Morales's conclusion brief. Physical and biological evidence indicate that folding knife was handled by Frank Dillard and came into contact with blood consistent with victim Amy Whitmore. Fabric fragment shows tearing pattern consistent with blunt force trauma on victim's skull. Soil particles match Eel Creek mine region. Conclusion: strong probability that suspect Dillard committed assault resulting in victim's death. December 2nd, 2013. Erin Voss present at lab when Morales signed final report. She held thick document stack, paper still warm with fresh ink smell, and read slow each line. When eyes stopped at line handled by Frank Dillard, she gently closed, feeling like just placed period on story, started from too far. "You know what this means?" Morales asked. Erin nodded. "Means we can take him to trial." She left forensics room, brought file to Oregon State Prosecutor's office at Salem. In closed meeting, she presented entire evidence chain from DNA results identifying victim's silver bracelet, gas receipt, to just completed item examination. Chief Prosecutor, Mrs. Laura Greer, flipped each page, eyes cold and focused. After 10 minutes silence, she closed file, looked up. "We have enough to indict." She signed opening section of indictment file, State of Oregon versus Frank Dillard charge. Homicide in the second-degree victim Amy Whitmore filed, December 3, 2013. News spread almost immediately. The Oregonian ran photo of Erin stepping out prosecutor building, holding file stack in hand, headline across, "Cold case reopened leads to indictment in 34-year-old murder." That evening, Erin sat back in small office, only turned on desk lamp. Beside her copy of examination report. She opened to last page, Morales's typed bold line. "Physical evidence does not fade. It only waits to be understood." She smiled lightly, added in pencil margin, "And now, it has spoken." Outside window, sky poured rain. Rain falls steady like metal tapping rhythm. Erin looked up, wall photo board, portrait. Amy Whitmore, 17-year-old girl's eyes, still bright, amid faded white background. She whispered, "We found his weapon, Amy. And this time, it won't be buried anymore." Next day, forensic final report. Case #79-2147, sealed, officially transferred to Lane County Court. There, marked Primary Evidence Exhibit A, core evidence in upcoming trial. After 34 years, from unsolved missing case, everything now converged in two small items, a rusted folding knife and rotted fabric piece, things Dillard last believed could hide forever in earth. But Erin knew better than anyone. Soil only knows hold, not forget. And it, by silent, through 3 decades, became most faithful witness to justice. March 2014, Lane County Court in Eugene, packed full people. No one thought missing case from Jimmy Carter president time would have day tried. Outside, press set cameras, words "State of Oregon versus Frank Dillard" printed large on court bulletin board. On steps, those lived Coos Bay 1979 lingered, talked small like afraid wake memories. In courtroom, Detective Erin Voss sat witness bench row before her stack files over 400 pages. At defendant table, Frank Dillard wore gray prison suit, silver hair, vacant eyes. When escorted in, he not look anyone, only down floor like person accepted inevitable. Trial opened with words of Oregon State Prosecutor, Mrs. Laura Greer. Her voice rang even, not loud, but each word heavy like stone. "Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today we stand here to end a story, began 35 years ago, in foggy night in Coos Bay, when Amy Whitmore, 17 years old, vanished on way home. Then, justice buried with her under red soil layer of Eel Creek mine area. But soil, not no lie. And today, it will speak for her." Greer held up file stack, began presenting evidence chain, DNA results from remains matching victim hair, Dillard fingerprints on folding knife, O+ blood sample, matching Amy's blood type, shirt fragment, with red soil, having tear-fitting skull fracture. Large screen, displayed sequentially, each photo, yellow Chevy Nova, reconstructed route map, mine scene, rusted knife, silver bracelet engraved AW. Whole room dead silent. Sound of note-taking pens, camera clicks, then absolute quiet. When prosecution finished, Dillard's defense lawyer, Mr. Stephen Marks, stood up, his voice hoarse and sharp. "Your Honor, my client not murder." He confessed under psychological pressure, after over 8 hours continuous interrogation without lawyer. This classic coerced confession case. No witnesses, no camera, and no one saw crime act. Ladies and gentlemen, can we convict a person just by rotted fabric pieces and faded memories after 3 decades? Dillard looked up, first time in trial, looked straight at prosecution. He said in gravelly voice, "I not kill that girl. She fell. They told me say that, to get lighter sentence." Courtroom buzzed. Greer not respond, just held up scene photo high. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "this is place." He says she slipped. A 2-meter deep pit, soft soil, but victim's skull fractured deep, broken both temples. That's not fall. That's a blow. Afternoon. Erin called to witness stand. She calmly answered every question, from reopening file process to forensics results. When lawyer Marks asked, "Did you ever pressure to force Mr. Dillard confess?" Erin replied straight, "No, he not threatened. He chose speak. I just made him face truth." Greer stepped up, asked final question. "Detective Voss, do you believe Frank Dillard responsible for Amy Whitmore's death?" Erin looked straight at jury, voice not shake. "I not believe, I know." Third day of trial, Salem Forensics called as expert witness. Dr. Hannah Morales presented detailed weapon examination. Dillard fingerprints on knife hinge, under rust layer. That proves he held it before buried. No one else touched. Tear on shirt fragment matches perfectly skull fracture, and soil sample, in fabric fibers, is Elk Creek area soil. This not coincidence. Lawyer Marks countered weakly, but no direct evidence that knife caused death. Morales replied brief. Injury on skull bone has same angle and width as folding knife edge. Though time deformed, correlation still clear. Science not lie. Fourth day, prosecution showed digital map reconstructing Amy's missing night route. Screen displayed red glowing streak, connecting from friend's house to mine area, then ending at riverbank where car found. "This is Amy Whitmore's final journey," Greer said. And at midpoint, only one person waiting, Frank Dillard. When Greer finished closing argument, she looked straight at jury. "We cannot bring Amy back, but we can do one thing, not let her name forgotten again." Fifth day afternoon, jury retired to deliberate. Outside, Eugene sky poured rain. Court windows fogged steam. Erin sat audience bench, hand-gripped pen Hensley, once used in old file, like silent continuation. Dillard sat silent, eyes down floor, no words. 3 hours later, court bell rang. Everyone stood. Jury returned to courtroom, faces solemn. Foreperson asked, "Have you reached verdict?" Representative stood, held paper, voice resounding in dead silent room. "We, the jury, after examining all evidence and testimony, find defendant Frank Dillard guilty of murder in the 2nd degree." Atmosphere broke in whispers. Erin closed eyes, inhaled long. Greer not smile, just slight nod, then said, "We recommend sentence life without parole." Judge gavels 3 times. Court accepts. Frank Dillard looked up, dry cold eyes. He not protest, no words. When police escorted out, he turned, looked at Erin. Faint smile. "You know, soil, not forget true." Erin replied quietly, "And it just told your whole story." Outside court, rain stopped. Afternoon light pierced clouds, reflected on wet steps, where reporters spoke to camera. After 34 years, Amy Whitmore case finally closed. Jury sentences life without parole for suspect Frank Dillard. Justice, though late, still comes. Erin left court in silence, damp wind blew through hair. She looked west, direction Coos River, where all began, and thought silently, no disappearance permanent. Some answers, just wait for someone patient enough to listen to soil. The story of Amy Whitmore case in Coos Bay, Oregon, not just a report about a case solved after 34 years, but also a mirror reflecting how America today views value of truth, perseverance, and faith in justice. From seemingly small details, red mud stain, silver bracelet, engraved A, buried folding knife, readers see clear that nothing completely lost, just waiting for someone patient enough to find again. In modern American society, where technology changes daily and information floods, Detective Aaron Voss's story reminds us that truth not from speed, but from endurance and integrity. Precisely the combination between human and technology, like Aaron using modern DNA technique, digital maps, with old handwritten files, brought case to end. That proof of power of not giving up, for belief that justice never too late. In American life today, when many feel lose faith in system or sense personal voice, too small to create change, story of Amy and Aaron is a reminder. Sometimes right thing just needs one person dare start again. Like soil at Eel 032 Creek, kept all evidence 3 decades, life also stores every value we sow, whether good or evil, steadfast or indifferent. Therefore, biggest lesson not just for police or those do justice, but for each person: be honest, persevere, and believe that forgotten can still redeemed. As long as someone willing listen, willing act. Thank you for following to end of story about Amy Whitmore, proof that justice can come late, but never disappears. Please subscribe channel to join us. Explore more cases seemed asleep, where truth still waiting to be told again.